Alright guys, it is now the end of May and this is where the season starts to get really interesting. So I want to give you guys an update on my balcony garden. Everything that I've sown in the previous months and is starting to get ready to be transplanted, as well as my new peppers, which I've literally just sown. They're going to need a lot more time, as well as everything else that I've been growing. I've got my little kind of herb section over here and some more interesting stuff on that side of the balcony. So let me walk you through everything one by one. Now, starting off over here, I love the lighting right now. This one is basically a mixed variety of stuff that I tried to grow during winter and nothing really took off. So I'm reckon that this is kind of on its last legs. These carrots, you know, they're not going to do anything. I don't know what this is, maybe celery or lettuce or something like that, but you know, this is just here until I need to replace it with something better. Now moving on, we're coming to my potatoes, which I believe these guys over here in the front are getting too much sun because all of a sudden they just kind of decided to die. Meanwhile, this side of the potato plant is still extremely healthy, and I've got another potato plant over here which is, you know, it's doing extremely well. It looks healthy, all the leaves are green, I don't see any of that wilting behavior. So I think it is just incredibly hot right now. And moving on to incredibly hot, my spinach is actually dead. It went to flower, you can see that here. I've got another variety sitting over here, which is also done for, you know, that's not coming back. And it's just been too hot. It went to flower and then it decided, you know, to unalive itself, but everything else is looking pretty good. But coming back here quickly, we've got store-bought lovage, I believe this is called, oregano, which looks really cool. I transplanted this recently, so it's still a little bit spread out and not completely happy. My old winter radish, which is a complete waste, and once again, just like that one over there, as soon as I have something interesting to plant, I'm going to be replacing this. And my thyme, which is doing absolutely brilliantly. Look at that lovely green color that it's got. It is really nice. As well as my mint, which, you know, people say it's really easy to grow, but I honestly had some trouble, but now it's doing great. It's really happy now. So over here, I basically picked up some plants from a friend who was going away. He had a basil lying around, as well as thyme. Now that thyme did not make it at all. It is completely gone. And the basil, you know, I actually had to do a lot of pruning because it seems to have picked up some kind of disease. You can probably see that. And I don't know what's causing that, but basically the way I've been trying to tackle it is just pruning all of those, you know, diseased leaves aggressively. Probably it's a bit too dense still over here. I should have separated it out, but you know, it looked really rough when I got it in the first place, and now it's doing pretty well. So I'd say that is a success. My strawberries, on the other hand, this strawberry tower, it's not really doing anything. There's some tiny little seedlings there from my yellow wonders, but I expected a lot more from this. We will come back to the strawberries in a second because I do have some over there. Now this is my crown jewel. My onions over here have been growing absolutely brilliantly. I mean, look at all of this. This is beautiful. I wish all of my plants grew like that. And my radish, I actually grew them properly. And I do think that these are pretty much ready to harvest. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th one hiding back there. Now my chives is a plant that I've been overwintering for many years now, and I absolutely love it. It's got kind of an oniony flavor, these stalks, and yeah, it's just absolutely delicious. This is my favorite plant by far because it's low maintenance. I can bring it inside and next year it just comes back. Now over here I have a completely oversown batch of carrots. So this was my second attempt at growing carrots, and I just went ham. I completely overpoured the packet. I knew it in the moment, but I didn't have the heart to prune it back. So I'm gonna have quite a lot of carrot tops. The carrots themselves over here are not gonna be a success. There's just no way. There's no room for them to grow. There's too much competition. So I do have to start, you know, picking carrots, picking carrot tops slowly, and this isn't gonna be a good harvest. But the carrot tops, great. I can definitely do something with that. Now moving on here, we've got my bunching onions, which also failed me a bunch. I was completely overwatering these guys, but now finally they seem to have sprouted well. But as you can see, they're only in about half the container, so I might consider removing this mulch here and putting in some more on this side. But going over here, we have something similar, but it's not the same thing. This is my leek, and ideally I only want to have one kind of stalk leaf thing growing per section. As you can see, I spaced these out 1, 2, and 3 over here. And you just want 1 each, but I want to give it a little bit more time to kind of let natural selection get rid of some of these and just keep the strongest one. Now the potatoes we discussed, but this is my carrots, where I actually made sure to kind of space it out a little bit better, and I feel like I've done that. I definitely still do need to prune this back, but the trick to actually get them to germinate well, and basically I have an over germination now, is you want to plant them and immediately mulch them, because if you're able to keep them moist the whole time, you're going to get pretty much every single carrot seed to pop up. The compost is doing fine. You know, that's just a little side project addition that I have. And we're coming now down to the last 2 major plants that I have here. My beetroot has finally started to come up, so that's really, really exciting. It's got this beautiful red color to it. And we move on to my rhubarb chard, which actually failed because I went on vacation for 2 weeks and I had way too much mulch over it. So everything that had popped up got like cut off. The leaves basically couldn't find the sun besides this one guy. So I planted a couple more. They should pop up any moment now. Now moving on to my seed starting area, these are not doing well. Something weird happened with the soil mix, and I see that there's like green stuff growing on top, like not good green stuff. But anyway, my parsley's doing all right. We've got a couple of parsleys popping up over here. Moving on, we've got my cucumbers here doing pretty well. I'm really happy about that. These will need to be transplanted soon, not quite yet. I do want to see a second true leaf pop up on these before I move them into their permanent containers. Now my spinach over here, wow, I actually have a successful spinach. That's really nice to see because those failed. And my lettuce over here is finally doing great. It's finally taking off. I had such a hard time with lettuce this season. I think it was just getting hammered by the sun. That side of the garden, well, garden is a strong word, of the balcony is way hotter than this side over here. So I moved them and they're doing much, much better here. So I'm really happy about that. Now, as I said before, the spinach just didn't make it. I think it got hammered too hard by the heat and it just couldn't recover. But my kale over here seems to be doing all right, although I do see some kind of yellowing, which is worrying me, even on the new leaves. That shouldn't be there. My oregano is doing all right. Here we've actually got an oregano taking off, and this oregano, you know, that was kind of as full as these two guys, but none of them made it. So, you know, that's always good to have multiple of the same thing if you really like it, which I do. Coming on over here, we've got basil, and basil, which I'm growing from seed, which is doing brilliantly. These two are kind of your general supermarket varieties, and this is a special variety from friends. So it's going to be really interesting to actually start experimenting with different varieties of basil. Now over here, I've got Tumbling Tom tomatoes, as well as another one here. This is a special variety of tomatoes that I've got here, and this one's also Tumbling Tom. And just like last year, we've got a Red Robin here, which is lagging behind. So it seems like Tumbling Toms just seem to love my environment for some reason, and these definitely need to be transplanted kind of ASAP into their permanent containers. It's just so hot right now. I want to wait until the temperatures come down just a little bit so that they can survive that transplant. Now, coming over, we've got my corn, which is doing absolutely brilliantly. I did not expect corn to grow that easily for some reason, but then again, it is one of the most popular things to grow in the world. So I don't know why I'm so surprised that it's doing so well, but it is, and that's absolutely brilliant. You're going to need multiple corn plants to kind of help them cross-pollinate a little bit. Now moving on here, we've got my sweet peppers, which I grew last year, which I wasn't happy with, but I wanted to try again. So we've got one here, and some mystery stuff growing next to it. It's doing all right. As well as here, another Red Robin, which is just lagging so hard. Coming back here, we've got some celery, which is popping off, but once again, I think this side is just too hot because we see it taking on quite a lot of damage here on these leaves. These were absolutely beautiful leaves not so long ago. The nasturtium here is doing well, but I think I'm going to plant this out and then direct sow a bunch of other ones in a big container around it because I want a lot more than just that. And here I've got more lettuce, which is doing great here as well, or yellow wonder. It's not clear to me which one I planted over there. If you guys know, let me know. But basically this here is my only strawberry that's doing well. But as you can see, it's gone to flower, which is a huge problem because what I want is a big bush to come out. So that just shows me that I completely missed the window on these strawberries. I haven't planted them at a good moment and they're just not happy. But you know, I've got another one popping up over here and it's really the same story. Maybe one of them is gonna make it. Now my camera is about to overheat, so let's speed run this. This is one more tumbling tom, which is also gonna come out, and my pepper tomatoes over here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you wanna see the video where I sowed all these peppers, I've got some world record winning varieties, as well as some ornamental varieties, and see exactly how I planned that out. Please go ahead and subscribe, and catch you guys in the next one. I forgot to mention my only indoor plant, which is my basil over here. It is absolutely lovely. I love basil. 10 out of 10.